Hey guys, it's Maggie and I am back today. And I know that I owe you guys an update because I kind of went MIA for a couple of weeks there. Um, it's been a crazy couple of weeks, and I'm not going to clickbait you or have you wondering about my dad. So the reason I went MIA is because my dad did get his surgery. It is completed. I just didn't want to make a video where I told you it was coming and not know how it ended up, because there's always risks with these surgeries. But I am grateful to say that everything went fabulous. We had one little hiccup, but other than that, he has progressed amazingly and has shocked all the nurses and doctors on the floor. So it's a sigh of relief to tell you that. But I'll tell you about the last couple weeks and kind of how everything went down. I will share a little bit about my dad, but I'm going to give the perspective of me because, A, this is my YouTube channel where I talk about what's going on mainly with me, not to make it self-centered, but that's kind of what it is. I'm going to share a little bit about what's gone on since it's completed, since everything went so great, and actually today we are breaking him out of the hospital, so we're going to leave in like an hour and 20 minutes. I don't think I'll be able to edit this video before we leave, but we're going to break him out of the hospital. Hopefully we'll have time to do some grocery shopping for him. He is able to walk and everything. I'll share more about how he's doing and stuff, but I actually have my MRI tonight. Of course, that's how it worked out, that he would be discharged on the same day as my MRI. Thankfully, I scheduled it for nighttime, but it's still cutting it close just because the drives. It's an hour to the hospital for us, an hour to get to his house from the hospital, at least an hour, if not more, to get from his house to where my MRI is, and then from where my MRI is, an hour to our house. Holy crap, that's a lot. Well, Zach is coming with me, so thankfully it'll be good. It'll be a good day. Let me quit blabbering. I'll run the intro and then I'll give you the update. Okay, so it really has been just a wild few weeks. Very stressful. I did take some video clips just on my phone that I'm going to sprinkle throughout this video, but I did not film. Honestly, I wasn't looking super great. I didn't feel super confident. I think that the stress is just, it's a lot. Like, I've just been worried about my dad, so I wasn't sleeping super great. I don't know what's going on, but I am losing a lot of hair. My hair is about half the thickness that it normally is, so that's freaking me out a little bit. And then my face broke out, which I can't remember the last time I've had my face break out. I've been able to clear it up, but I have makeup on and it's very bumpy under the makeup and I'm very self-conscious about it. So it's just been a stressful couple of weeks, but I'll take you back. I told you guys in my last video that my dad would be getting a heart procedure done, and the lead up to that was there wasn't a long period of time. He didn't have a whole lot of warning, and he had to get a lot of stuff done for it, lots of tests, lots of other procedures, just to make sure that he was good to go for the surgery, because it was a big surgery. I was very worried. I'm just glad it's over. It was a lot. And it was hard seeing your dad in that situation. And, the dad that has always been healthy and been the one to take care of you, just be in that vulnerable position. But anyways, so I should have realized a few weeks ago when he told me that he was going to get this surgery. He mentioned that he had to get a cardiac catheterization, and I have very limited knowledge of cardiac stuff. The only stuff I know is what I can remember from nursing school, which is honestly not Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. But I did remember that I thought it was done through the femoral artery, and I thought that you had to be sedated for it. And so I asked him, do you need somebody to drive you to that? Because I feel like I didn't want to like scare him or anything and be like, you're going to be sedated and it's going to be horrible. But I just said, do you need somebody to drive you to that? And they didn't tell him that he needed anybody, so he said no. Of course, the day before his procedure, they called him and said, so who's driving you? And he said, what? I can't drive myself? Nope. So he called me. Thankfully, with the work that I do, it is extremely flexible, and they've been wonderful. Smart Sharp Spin has been amazing to me because it's just, with my health kind of getting funky, and then everything with my dad, they've just been so kind. So I actually woke up very early this morning to catch up on everything. Craziness. But anyways, so I was available to take him to the cardiac catheterization, and I was so nervous for it. I didn't realize that they could do it through your wrist. The person doing it, the doctor said, 90% of the time we can do it through the wrist, which is a lot easier, and we get you out of here quicker, but 10% of the time we can't get it up there, and we have to do it through the femoral. Thankfully, they were able to do it through the wrist, and everything was clear, and he was good to go for surgery. But I was, I was a nervous wreck that day, and the funny thing was, the build up to it was so much worse than the actual procedure. And my dad said that too. We're waiting in the waiting room. We had to get there kind of early in the morning. We're waiting there for a while, and then they bring him back, and they put the IV in, and then they ask me to come back so I can sit with him. And we're waiting there for a little bit, and finally they're able to take him back. And I swear, as soon as I sat down in the waiting room, they were calling me to be like, he's done. He's all good. And then a good amount of time, I would say the most amount of time, was just sitting in the room with him afterwards as they monitor his wrist to make sure it's not bleeding, because they have to put, I don't know what they put up there, but they put something, a camera, catheter, I don't know. Again, I don't know a whole lot about this. And so we were just sitting there chatting, and, the nurse kept checking his wrist, and that was that. But that was a super long day. I thought, sorry, Bruno just came up to me because I'm talking, thinks I'm talking to him. I'm not. Don't you jump up here. I thought that because the procedure was happening earlier in the day, sorry, now Dixie's climbing under the desk, so you're going to hear some noise. I thought because it was happening earlier in the day that we would, get home at a reasonable hour. And it was a lot of driving for me because it was the hour to my dad's, hour from my dad's to the hospital, an hour to bring him back to his house, and then an hour for me to drive to my home. The dogs are just going crazy. 2 are still asleep. 2 are with me, though. Anyways, so there's a lot of driving. I didn't get home until about 7:30 that night, so I was exhausted. But thankfully, everything went fine. Everything was good to go. And yeah, it was just a wait for the surgery. So the surgery happened the day before Thanksgiving, and what it was an aortic valve replacement. It's something that actually he told me I have to go ask a doctor, I guess, to do an echo on me because the issue was a congenital issue, hereditary thing. So he had, instead of a tricuspid valve, a bicuspid. And apparently I may also have a bicuspid, although I've never noticed any heart issues, so who knows. He went for nearly 70 years without problems, although after surgery he's noticed a lot of differences, and he's like, maybe my lack of like stamina and stuff as a kid, maybe that was because of this, probably. So anyways, it was a stressful week. The day after we did the cardiac cath, I had fluids, and I was just like dreading going because, of course, my appointment was at 10 a.m. and it's an hour drive to get to my fluids, and I was just so tired. And I was just over it. And I brought my laptop to do work there, and I just did not do it. I fell asleep. I was so tired. I turned the lights out. I never turn the lights out of the fluids, so I zonked. And then after the fluids, I'm always just really tired, so it was a little stressful. So anyways, my dad and I, planned for the actual surgery. And what we did was I wound up going to his house the night before, so on Tuesday, just so we could have a little bit of an easier start because they wanted him at the hospital at 6 a.m. So we didn't sleep at all, or very little. So that night, Tuesday night, I think I fell asleep around 10 p.m. I woke up at midnight. And I know that he didn't sleep well either because I could hear him in his room and, he was getting up and doing stuff. So that was rough. And we had to leave at 4:30 in the morning to get to the actually, I think we left around 4:15. And I drove and I was like, oh, let's get to the hospital so I can sleep in the waiting room, which barely happened. So got on the road, got to the hospital, and got him in pretty quick. A lot of the other patients that we saw, they didn't have any bags or anything, and my dad was like, I brought a bag of, clothing and stuff. Was that stupid of me? And it turns out I watched nearly every single one of those other patients walk out. Some of them were being wheeled out, but they went home. So they were just outpatient procedures, I guess. Maybe it was other people getting cardiac caths. I don't know. But got him in super early. We had, our last kind of chat when he was sitting in the room, prior to going into the OR, when they had him, in the gown and got his IV in and all that stuff. And we were just chatting and stuff. And I was just, that whole week, I was really just in a mood, just nervous. And I don't know, it's my dad. I was very worried. So I was trying to be smiley and stuff and chat. But then I think it was the nurse anesthetist. Now, apparently they had overscheduled, so they had two, I believe they were nurse anesthetists. I always struggle to say that word. I think everybody struggles to say that word. He had two of them, so I was like, okay, maybe this is a good omen. He's got more people on board to monitor him, and it'll be really good. But the surgeon came in to explain, I think it was actually the resident surgeon, came in to explain what they were going to do and, how they were replacing the valve and why they were doing it the way they do. So essentially, it was actually very interesting to me. The way that they did it, because they did open heart surgery, it allows him, should he need another valve replacement, to get it done much easier the second time. They can just do it through the femoral artery, which I didn't know that was a possibility. So that's why they said, it's better to do it as an open thing when you're younger. So that way, should this valve fail when you're still living, we can do it as an easier procedure. We don't have to open up your chest again. So he's got a wicked cool scar, or he will once it heals up. But that made me sad too, because, just, I'm sure it's the exact feeling, or maybe not, because just knowing that he was going to have a big scar. He's, other than small surgeries, he's never had anything like this. So for me, I'm just used to getting lots of surgeries, but I'm sure it's a similar feeling to him the first time that I had to be sliced open and wind up with scars, permanent scars for the rest of my life. So, yeah, we just were sitting there chatting, and they told us that he would come out of the surgery intubated. He would go to the ICU in 6 to 8 hours, they would try waking him up to see if he could breathe on his own and then remove the breathing tube. And that is not at all what happened for a good reason. So the surgery was a long one, and the hospital that both of us go to, they give little text message reminders, or not reminders, but notifications saying, patients in the OR, patients out of the OR, they're in recovery or whatever. So there was one other guy and myself who were there for, I believe he was there for his mom, but they were both getting, the more intense surgeries. So we were both there the whole day, and just like, we didn't really speak, but he asked me where the bathroom was, and I was like, oh, it's over there, because I knew where the bathroom was immediately. It's one of my skills, but we just kept giving each other like knowing looks of we're stressed out and just waiting. So the nurse liaison came out around 11. Mind you, he had been in the OR since about 7:30, 7:45. So she came out and gave me an update saying things were going great and that they had sewn in the new valve, and that they didn't see anything else needing to be done. So that was awesome news. And then I think around 1:30 p.m. or 1 o'clock, the surgeon came out, the attending came out to talk to me. And he actually took pictures and he showed me my dad's valve. It's a miracle that he lived with that for so long. It was just, it looked like a knotted scar tissue chunk that was not, it could not move the way it should. And then he showed me all of these little calcium deposits that he just meticulously took out. And he said, I wanted to take my time with it and be very thorough because I didn't want any of those little deposits to dislodge and, go and give your dad a stroke. So, oh my gosh. Yeah. So it went great. And I was told, go up to the ICU and wait. So I went up to the ICU. My dad is calling probably to give me an update because he's getting discharged today. So I will come right back. I am back. I got a call from my dad just saying that all the paperwork was, done and he can leave basically whenever. So as soon as we get there, we are good to go. Anyways, I can't remember what I was saying, but the surgery went well. And so I went up to the ICU and went up to the front desk where the front desk lady said, oh, they're getting your dad settled. Give him an hour and then I will come get you. Well, she came to get me like 5 minutes later and said, sorry, they're actually like ready for you. You can go in. Who is texting me? Leave me alone. And I fully expected to walk into my dad intubated and asleep. Nope. He was awake, extubated. Apparently they did it in the OR. And he was talking to me and he remembers it. So he was making jokes. He was having a little bit of trouble talking because he had the breathing tube, just recently removed, so his throat was a little sore. And obviously he was in pain and he was getting pain medications. But he was, asking the nurse for a martini and just having a time and just making the nurse laugh. And when I walked in, and I saw him awake, I looked at the nurse and I said, I'm his daughter. Like, what? And he goes, I know. I've never had a patient be extubated that quickly. And they gave him the incentive spirometer, which he did, and just was like amazing with that. I guess his lung capacity was incredible. And he kept saying, I feel like I can breathe so much deeper now. Like, this is so weird. And I thought maybe it's because he had oxygen on and he had a lot of stuff going on. He had 2 chest tubes, an arterial line, an IV. He had a central line right here. Thank God I never had to have any of that kind of line as a nurse. It looked intense, and like the dressing, it's just awkward where it is. So What else did he have? I'm trying to think. He had a catheter in, which that was the thing that was ticking him off the most. He did not like the catheter. But you know, he did amazing, and then he got a little bit sleepy by the time I left. Guys, got a little bit sleepy by the time that I left, and I thought he was going to be asleep and like totally out of it. So I kind of expected to sit with him for maybe an hour or so, talk to the nurse, figure out expectations from me and expectations for my dad of how he would progress. But since he was awake, I couldn't leave. Um, I was worried. He was struggling to move his hands a bit and reach his face and reach the call bell. And the nurse, gave him the call bell, put it right by his hand. But I was so worried that what if, he didn't feel good or needed something from the nurse and he wouldn't be able to get it. So I said to myself, okay, I'm exhausted. I've been up since midnight. I'm going to stay until the night nurse comes on so I can at least tell them who I am, um, tell them where my dad's cell phone is. So if my dad wants to call me, he can. I went through his stuff. I put his cell phone on top of his bag and I like pointed it out to the night nurse. I am getting calls out the wazoo. So I made sure that they had my phone number and I told them if anything happens tonight, please call me. But nothing happened that night. And by the time I left, my dad was just very sleepy, very out of it. So he wanted to watch the Flyers game, and he said the next day that he actually did watch some of it. But when I left, he was out of it. He didn't want the volume on or anything. But I found the Flyers game for him. So then I went home, and basically when I got home, I jumped in the shower, and I don't even remember. I must have eaten something. Oh, I know what we did. No, we didn't go. I didn't get right in the shower. What we did was we went to Burger King. I know, horrible for me, but I was starving. All I had eaten that day was pretzels and goldfish. So I texted Zach. I said, when I get home, we're gonna go right to Burger King, and yep, that's what I want. That's what I want. So we did that. Got my Burger King, and then we came back to the house. I ate, I showered, and I fell asleep. And I actually slept down here because I wanted to keep my phone on loud, but I haven't quite figured out how to not have every notification be loud on my phone. So any text or anything that I got made a really loud noise, and Zach was, you know, he's a very light sleeper, and he doesn't sleep very well as it is. So I was like, I'm going to sleep down here so I can be ready to go if I need to and not disturb him. But I didn't get any calls. And then the next day was Thanksgiving. So it actually worked out what happened. Kind of sucked, but we were going to go to Zach's family's house for Thanksgiving, which is a 2.5 hour drive for us. But we were going to do it, and I was going to make, a couple easy dishes to bring. But his dad wound up having COVID. And I didn't, I don't want to risk anything with my dad and getting him an infection. And then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? It's probably better that I don't be around, I don't go around people and get any germs because there's a lot going around, not just COVID right now. It's winter. This is what happens every year. But we were also invited to my brother and sister-in-laws, and Zach and I talked and we said, well, we could, reach out to them and say, we could come visit, not like a rude way, but like, oh, my plans fell through, you're my backup plan, not like that, um but we said, well, maybe we could go see them and see my niece and nephew, but then we thought, you know what, there's little kids just attract all the germs. I said, let's not. Let's go to the store. Let's go to the grocery store. We're going to get us a Thanksgiving dinner. I'll cook it. We both actually worked on it because that turkey, guys, Zach picked out a 23-pound turkey for the two of us. Yeah, we've got leftovers. It actually worked out perfectly. It was like meal prep on Thanksgiving Day. So anyways, Thanksgiving morning, I wake up early. I get the stuffing together. Then Zach wakes up. We get the turkey ready together. We put it in the oven, and we get on the road because we're going to go visit my dad. And when we walked in, he was sitting up in a chair talking to us, apparently only taking Tylenol. This is the day after surgery, not even 24 hours. I could never. No, give me the medication, please. So he was doing great. We did his first walk with him and stuff like that. And then we went home, and there was one little hiccup. He had an arrhythmia in which he needed to be sedated and shocked for. But after that, he hasn't had, knock on some wood for me. Let me, there we go. That was me. Dixie. I was knocking on wood. I don't want to jinx us. Knock on wood quietly, apparently. He's been good since then. It's been a few days. So he's getting out of the hospital today. And of course, my MRI is tonight. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a little stressful. I'm gonna be tired tonight. So I woke up early, got as much work as I could done for Smart Sharp Span stuff, and I have a bunch of other things that I need to do, but it's just, there's not enough time in the day right now. Today is the craziest day this week, I think, hopefully. So we're going to do that. We're going to leave in about an hour to go get him, and I want to make sure that he's got supplies and stuff. I don't think he has to do any wound care, but I just want to make sure that he's got everything that he needs, and then we're going to go to the pharmacy, get his medications, go to the grocery store so he's got some food. Then we're going to go to my MRI. Zach is driving, thankfully, because God forbid my dad gets unsteady on his feet. I'm sorry, 90-pound Maggie is not stopping it. Like, he's going down. So I wanted Zach to be there. Also, because I'm getting my MRI tonight, I tend to not feel super great after that. I'm going to get dehydrated from it. Now, I've got fluids in a few days, so hopefully that'll help, fix the problem. I'm going to keep trying to hydrate, but I have to be nothing to eat or drink by like 1 p.m. So actually, I want to eat something before we go. I'm going to actually get a good meal in before we go, so I'm not worried about that. I also want to find a larger ostomy bag, because one problem I really struggle with MRIs is the contrast just goes right through me and it fills up my ostomy bag. Like, I have to empty multiple times before I even go in the MRI machine. And I always say, like, are you sure that I need all this contrast? Like, I'm a small person and it's already coming out of me, so I think it made it through the system that you're looking at. It is what it is. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? So I gotta find a bigger ostomy bag just so it doesn't leak on me. And then I always have to pee really badly while I'm in the machine. You're in there for like half an hour. Thankfully, I don't have any claustrophobia issues. I have no issue being in there. Honestly, I could fall asleep. It's loud, but, is what it is. So it's just going to be a long day. But anyways, I'm glad that he is breaking out of the hospital. We'll get everything situated. I want to see how he's doing and how he's doing particularly in the house. He will have physical therapy coming to visit him, but I'm just nervous with him being by himself after this surgery, because, he's had a nurse to help him and stuff. Although he says he's getting around pretty good. Depending on how he does, or if anything pops up, I may go spend a few nights there. I know I'll be driving over there a few times just because he can't drive or anything for a few weeks. So I'm going to take him grocery shopping and stuff like that. Yes, it's just, that's what's been going on. It's just been very busy. As for my health, I'm doing okay, just trying to situate the iron. I'm having issues with the iron making me feel sick, but it also helping slow my ostomy. It's like very effective for that, seemingly. So that's just trying to have a balancing act. And then with my dad's surgery and stuff, I didn't want to take the iron and feel like I'm going to throw up while I'm in the waiting room and visiting him and stuff. It's been a big old balancing act. So that's why you haven't seen me on YouTube, because I just couldn't. I couldn't. Anyways, I do think I'm going to vlog today, though, because I am hopefully getting this MRI. Hopefully we make it in time, and hopefully they don't cancel on me like they did the CT scan. They canceled on me like 2 hours beforehand. Nonsense. So, anyways, that is our plan today. I'm going to go deal with this little dog that is staring at me. What do you want? You want to come up here? You want to show the camera? Dixie, come here. Oh, I don't think the camera can see you. Oh, there's your nose! I tried. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for the nice messages and comments, just checking in. Hopefully I can get this video up to you soon, because it's going to take a little bit of editing. I know it's kind of long. I hope that if you celebrate Thanksgiving that you had a really great day and it was relaxing and not overwhelming, and family members didn't bug you about what you were eating. And yes, I just generally hope that you are feeling great. So I will see you soon. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, bye.